Majority of states have pledged delegates to Kamala Harris ahead of the DNC. She actually got the number of delegates she needed as of last night to be the official nom. Let's take a look.
The Kamala Harris campaign kicking off and a quick start in this presidential race. At least 27 states have now pledged their delegates. CBS News estimates that the vice president already now has the support that she needs to officially become the Democratic presidential nominee next month. And it happened on her first full day as a candidate, which she spent visiting campaign staff in Wilmington, Delaware. President Biden also spoke to staffers over the phone, notably not Zoom, the first time we've heard his voice even since he stepped aside. Ed O'Keefe is near Biden's home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Ed, good morning to you.
Tony, good to see you. We have finally heard from the president's doctor that his condition is significantly improved, and he is expected to go back to Washington later today. As you said, we heard from the president finally. He talked to his former staff, said stick with the vice president and help her win the White House. Walking into her newly minted campaign headquarters, Vice President Harris reassured staffers and reshaped the way Democrats plan to campaign against Donald Trump, highlighting her experience as a prosecutor.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And in his first remarks since dropping out, President Biden called in to thank staff, pledging his continued support.
I think we made the right decision. I'm not going anywhere. And I want you to know you've always had my back, and I promise you, I will always have your back.
And supporters now have hers. More than $100 million raised since the president's surprise announcement Sunday, more than 58,000 new volunteers. And she's keeping the team together, asking top aides like campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon to stay on, and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer to co-chair the campaign.
Vice President Harris has my full support.
Other top Democrats also jumped on. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying she has full confidence Harris will lead Democrats to victory in November.
Everybody's going to coalesce around the vice president, and she'll be fine.
But some, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, have yet to officially back her. While Senator Bernie Sanders is withholding support until he hears more about her agenda.
We need a presidential candidate who is prepared not only to stand up to the big money interest, but to fight for working people.
Now, one of the biggest questions, who might she pick as a running mate? Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro batted away questions it might be him.
That decision should be made free of any sort of political pressure.
So did Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear.
The only way I would consider something other than this current job is if I believed I could further help my people and to help this country.
And North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper.
I think it's really important that we do keep the focus on her this week.
Watching it all are Republicans who say Democrats have rushed to anoint
Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have endorsed her now.
Harris and push aside the president.
You got to persuade voters. You got to win their votes. You don't decide who the president is in smoke-filled rooms with billionaires and senior elected officials. You let the people decide.
That's a great take. Republicans famously, one, love democracy. Two, are angling for the Biden or busters. There are no Biden or busters. That narrative would have been more successful if Joe Biden was ideologically at odds with the establishment Democrats. If it was like a Bernie style situation, and objectively, even with Bernie Sanders, that narrative was not enough to sway enough votes for Donald Trump to win, regardless of what Democrats try to claim in the aftermath of the 2016 election. Okay? And it didn't work in 2020 anyway. Bernie Sanders campaigned both for Hillary Clinton, harder than Hillary Clinton did, and campaigned for Biden, harder than Biden ever did in 2020. So that is not a successful narrative in this circumstance when you're trying to be like, yeah, the Democratic Party, guys, you don't have a democratic process, actually. It's really fucked up. When 83% of Democratic voters are elated at this prospect, at this new swap, and further, $88 million in individual donations came in a 24-hour cycle after Kamala stepped into the ticket. That is insane. That's more than what Trump was able to raise after he got fucking shot, dude. You're out of your dang mind. Like, who the fuck are you talking to? What do you think about people saying the left is perpetually looking for misery because we are insisting on Harris demonstrating a more left-wing position on Gaza? There's two different arguments there. The moral argument, obviously, is that genocide is abhorrent. History will not look kindly upon those who are advocates for genocide, and turning a blind eye to ethnic cleansing is unimaginably cruel. Okay, that's the moral argument. Number one. But the strategic argument for the election also remains. You have to communicate to liberals that states that are must win for the Democratic Party, like Michigan, states that are must win for the Democratic Party, like Wisconsin, Minnesota, these are states that actually have had significant movement in their uncommitted voter campaigns. It was directly a consequence of Biden's inaction and Biden's direct defense of Israel's ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign. That right there means that there are a lot of people who will not vote if the Gaza messaging even doesn't change. I think you're overestimating the impact of uncommitted voters in the primaries. It is one thing to do it in a primary, another to do that in the general election. If anything, I think you're underestimating that, because the real uncommitted voters just simply don't vote. You're wrong. And I said this even back then. Uncommitted voters that are voting in the primaries are uncommitted Democratic Party loyalists, like hardliners in the Democratic Party. You're talking about people who are so invested in the party's future and invested in politics, so much so that they're voting in the primaries. Okay? You're nuts. Also, Wall Street Journal is reporting that Harris plans to gut Biden's foreign policy and national security teams if she wins. Will be interesting. Replacing Sullivan, Blinken, and Austin is a very big shakeup. Oh, she could possibly take their line, and just because she's Biden's VP doesn't mean they agree on everything. It's possible for her to distance herself from him. That the issue here is twofold, and it's a very complex dynamic. It's a very complicated equation. Why is it complicated? Because Kamala Harris has to demonstrate political courage. Kamala Harris has to demonstrate political courage, which I don't know if she has or not, and an ideological commitment to stopping genocide, which I'm not sure she has. Her track record certainly does not show that reality. She's been a solid AIPAC supporter, even though there have been some moments in her career where she has sidestepped away from the Democratic caucus's unimaginable dick riding of Israel. Minor moments, albeit still significant. Having said that, however, in terms of like Kamala Harris demonstrating political courage and willingness to change the administration's current discourse on Gaza, also runs into a separate trap, and that is Joe Biden himself. There's one thing we know about that demented old fuckbag. He is an unimaginable, unconditional, generational talent in terms of bouncing on Israel's dick. Okay? He is doing Olympic level gyration like you've never seen. Okay? So he might totally be like, yeah, I don't care what Kamala Harris is saying. I'm going to nuke Gaza. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he is more of a, yes, he's more of an ideological fanatic for Israel than previous presidents of Israel. Okay? And it's pretty funny because, like, regardless of him bouncing on Netanyahu's dick, Israel still likes Donald Trump more. Israel likes Donald Trump more than they like Biden, and certainly more than they like Benjamin Netanyahu. But there are some shifts happening that I like. Okay. Where is it? Here is Emma Vigeland. Wall Street Journal. Harris will meet 1v1 with Bibi, then skip his address. She's expected to tell him to stop the war and the suffering of Palestinian civilians. She likely won't keep Sullivan, Blinken, or Austin. Jim Zogby says she's shown far greater empathy for Palestinians than Biden. Harris' Middle East views will be in the spotlight this week when she and Biden will meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The plan is for Harris, dude, if she activates her cop gene, oh my God. Obviously, that would never happen, but it'd be fucking awesome. Imagine she just goes ultra instinct. She just goes maximum ultra instinct and arrests Benjamin Netanyahu. She's like, sorry, I'm a cop. Lord, forgive me. I'm back on my old ways. And it seems like you've done crimes, sir. She does not like him having a warrant and not being in jail. That's what I'm saying, dude. Holy fuck, Trump is meeting with Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago. Looking forward to welcoming Bibi Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida tomorrow. During my first term, we had peace and stability in the region, even signing the historic Abraham Accords, and we will have it again. Just as I've said in discussions with President Zelensky and other world leaders in recent weeks, peace through strength agenda will demonstrate the world that these horrible, deadly wars and violent conflicts must end. Millions are dying, and Kamala Harris is in no way capable of stopping it. Guys, you need to understand something, and this is very important. What politicians say, especially when they're running for office, and what they do almost never match up. But what politicians say is very important, especially in terms of politicians who know how to read the room. Donald Trump has consistently presented himself as the peaceful dove even in this election cycle. I don't know how he's able to fucking pull it off, but this is him consistently taking advantage of all the chaos that has unfolded under the Biden administration. And if the liberals' argument here is we built NATO and Israel has a right to defend itself over and over again, this is going to lead to people going, yeah, you know what? I do want to believe that Donald Trump could possibly stop Israel's genocide. And even though he is like a fucking unimaginable, also simultaneously Olympic level dick rider. I hate this. I hate this because like right now, all conflicts that are occurring are on Joe Biden. But like I said, big crowds, big momentum, big movement for Kamala.